John chapter 6, get used to this because we'll have it till next Saturday. So we're going to have a week of this, which begins with the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes. Fun fact, it's the only miracle that appears in all four Gospels besides Jesus' resurrection. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all have this story. Must have been something very memorable. I know I would remember it if someone multiplied food for me too, but So again, not to give you everything at once. There's a lot that's going to be said here. Let's just look at the first 15 verses here, okay? So we start with the fact that in chapter 5, we had this during Lent. It was Jesus healing that crippled man who has been crippled for 38 years, and then told him to rise, pick up his mat, and walk. And then Jesus gets into this long discussion, or maybe argument, with the Pharisees about doing this on the Sabbath and the meaning and the purpose of the Sabbath. So that concludes, and now Jesus goes across the Sea of Galilee, and he goes up to the mountain. Mountain was always a place of divine encounters. Okay, mountains were always, you hear mountain in Scripture, think of sacred place, divine encounter with God, those sort of things. The Jewish feast of Passover is near. John goes out of his way to tell us that. Okay, the second month of the year, okay, that's the time here. Second month of the year, near the Passover, what is it doing? It was believed that when Moses fed the people manna in the wilderness, that it was during this time. That's why John's telling us this. Okay? So he's having us and he's having the reader think of, okay, Moses, the people in the wilderness, being fed with the manna. Okay? Jesus is recapitulating. Okay? It's hard for me to say that word, but kind of redoing what Moses did in the wilderness. Jesus raises his eyes, sees a large crowd coming to him. And so as the crowd's coming to him, he thinks about hunger. He thinks about, you think about our hunger, the body, our bodily hunger is a sign of our hunger in our souls. Our bodies are also a sign of our spiritual lives. There's a hunger. And as we can see when he enters into the conversation with Philip, a hunger where the ordinary means aren't able to satisfy. There's not enough food to feed all this people. Just like, the things of this world aren't enough to satisfy the hunger within our souls. Something special, something extraordinary, something divine is the only thing that can satisfy the human soul. Jesus, again, as John tells us, Jesus knows what he's going to do. He wants to see where Philip's at, in his faith. And Philip, again, answers in earthly terms. There's not enough food. 200 days' wages worth of food won't even give everybody just a little bit. That's the extreme hunger that's present here. And then Andrew, the great introducer, right? Andrew, in the beginning of John's gospel, introduces Peter, his brother, to Jesus. So Andrew, once again now, introduces someone else, a young boy who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But as Andrew says, well, what good are these for so many? Jesus then has the people recline. Now in the Synoptic Gospels, it tells us that he divides them into thousands and hundreds and tens and fives, okay? Breaks them down like that, making an allusion back to Exodus. That's how Moses broke up the people of Israel in the wilderness, okay? Again, Jesus going back to the time of Moses, to the time of the wilderness. And then he says words that I think daily mass goers should know. He takes the loaves, he gives thanks, and he distributes, right? We know that phrase, right? Right? That's the phrase at the Last Supper. It's a phrase at the Mass. Okay? So not only is John sending us back to the Exodus event, but he's also going to send us to the future. More on that in just a second. When they had their fill, he said to the disciples, gather the fragments left over so that nothing will be wasted. Okay? Our tabernacle here, all of our Eucharist, our bread of life, okay? Nothing is wasted, reserved for adoration in the tabernacle. 12 wicker baskets where fragments were filled, the 12 tribes of Israel satisfied. Now here's the key here, and I'll end with this. When the people saw the sign they had done, they said, this is truly the prophet, the one who is to come into the world. And since Jesus knew that they were going to come and carry him off to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain alone. So 2 quick things on that. One, there was a Jewish expectation that when the Messiah comes, he's going to come like Moses. And one of the things that Moses did is what? Feed the people in the wilderness with the manna. Okay? That's the sign attributed with Moses. The Messiah was going to come again, lead a new Exodus, and one of the signs of the Messiah was that what? He was going to feed the people like Moses fed the people. This is why the people say this is truly the prophet, that they're saying this is truly Moses. Moses is back. Okay? And not only that, part of the feed-in is that what? It's not just simple manna, but it's like a royal feast. This is why Jesus is running away, because they want to make him king. That the Messiah is going to be a royal Messiah that's going to throw that royal feast and truly feed the people and truly satisfy them for all eternity. Okay? So they see that and they want to make him king, but we know from John's Gospel from Good Friday, when does Jesus accept the title of king? Is at his passion. Okay? He accepts the kingly title when he's crowned with thorns and when the soldiers put the robe on him and mock him, because he wants to be not just a king that feeds, but a king that suffers for his flock, for his people. Okay? And so that's the multiplication of the loaves and the fishes. Okay? It's recalling Moses, but also looking forward towards the Messiah. And like I said, we have a whole week of this, so we'll stop right here. And tomorrow we're going to have, actually, in chapter 6, Jesus is crossing on the sea. Okay? Again, think of Exodus when you hear that passage tomorrow. But who knows? Maybe Father Kuna will talk about it tomorrow. But either way, God bless you.